The last secret I want to share with you is something really cool and interesting that not a lot of people have heard about. And it's especially useful if your partner tends to bring up stuff from the past or things that are unrelated to what you're talking about right now, which usually makes it way harder and way more complicated than it should be. Hey, what's up? I'm Moreno, I'm a relationship coach, and today I'll show you 3 communication secrets that you as a man can use to put an end to endless arguments and drama and instead solve your problems and create more connection and intimacy in your relationship. You know that it's no fun at all having an argument with your partner, especially if you two have patterns that will make the argument escalate, or it will always be about the same things, and small things can blow up into really big stuff that goes on for hours and hours and sometimes days, and it sucks the energy out of you, it sucks the energy out of the business, it takes away your inner peace, and you really don't want that. The good news is that quite often it's mostly an issue of communication tools and techniques and skills which you can learn very easily. So without further ado, let's get into these 3 things, and I guarantee you it will completely change the way you communicate with your partner and also completely change the way how you handle your conflicts. Secret number 1 is creating a safe space. Now, you might have heard the term before, but it's super important that you understand what it really is about, because that is where we have one of the biggest differences between the masculine and the feminine. See, as the masculine, when we have something that upsets us, we want to walk up to someone, talk about it, and say, okay, here's a problem, let's find a solution. And then you talk about it, you find a solution together, you change things, everything is happy ever after. As the feminine, it's different. A woman who is in her feminine doesn't primarily look for solutions when she wants to talk to you about something. It's much more about her expressing her emotions and having the space to do so. So the masculine regulates himself by talking about the problem and finding solutions to it. The feminine regulates herself by sharing her emotions and how she feels about a certain situation. But she can only do that if you as a man are capable of holding a safe space. And when you are capable of doing it and she is able to share herself in that space, you will see that a lot of the problems she's been complaining about and a lot of the things that used to be a source for drama and arguments will simply disappear, because in her, the emotional charge is gone. And this is very mind-blowing to most men I know, because most of the time, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to fix anything, although that is our first intention, our first urge that we have when the woman we love comes to us with something that bothers her. We want to fix it, but we don't have to. All we need to do is hold the space. And this is something I had to learn in my relationships the hard way, because I used to be the fixer. I used the one who gave solutions all the time. And it's our natural urge as men, because when the woman we love comes to us, we want to provide solutions. We want to make her feel better, by giving her the solution to her problem. But that's not how it works for the feminine. In fact, she will feel misunderstood and unsafe if you can't attune to her emotions. So how do you create a safe space? Well, think about what makes a space safe. There's no time pressure. There's no accusation of, hey, you did this and that is why X, Y, Z. There is no threat of, oh, if this doesn't go this way, then I'm going to leave you or whatever. There is no need to change her emotions and change how she feels about something. She has to feel safe if she's angry with that anger. She has to feel safe if she's disappointed with that disappointment, with the jealousy, with whatever she feels. You have to learn to simply let her emotions be and just sit with her without telling her to fix something or do X, Y, Z so she feels better. So the very practical way I go about this, how I open this space, is to first check in with myself and make sure I am calm, I am clear on what I want, I am at peace with myself. Because if you aren't at peace with yourself, if you aren't calm and secure in yourself, you will carry that into every conversation and dynamic you have, and it will undermine all your efforts. So once that is sure, I walk up to her and I say, hey, there's this thing that I would like to talk to you about. And it's because you are important to me and our relationship is important to me. I never say, oh, you have done this, so I have to. No. It's about the we. It's about making her feel safe. It's about saying, hey, let's open this container and please express yourself. And that's the next step I take. I say, hey, look, I've observed this and that. How do you feel about it? Can you share your thoughts? Can you share your feelings? I just want to listen. I'm curious. So come from a place of curiosity. And then whatever she brings forward, just accept it and hold a space for it. And then you can share your own perspective. Because what she feels and thinks, it's not about you personally. It's about her. It's her internal world. And when you can invite her to share that internal world and she feels safe doing so because she doesn't get fixed or she doesn't get annoying comments on how she should feel and how she shouldn't feel, then she will be able to open up more. Because the thing is, the arguments you have, it's never about the argument in the moment. It's almost always about deeper triggers, about deeper patterns. And you can only share that, you can only get into that if you feel safe. Because in the end, a safe space helps both parties to step out of the ego because they don't feel the need to protect themselves anymore. So whatever discussion you have, whatever you want to talk about, your number one priority should always be to create a safe space so both parties feel safe and can share what is authentically inside of them. Last but not least, here's a little pro tip. Ask your woman what she needs to feel safe. Because people are different. Maybe she wants to sit further apart from you. Maybe she wants to be hugged while you talk. Maybe she needs time. Maybe she wants to talk about things right away. It can be very different. And you have absolutely nothing to lose and a lot to gain by asking your woman what she needs. It's very simple. Secret number 2 is a technique that has saved me from so many arguments. It's insane. See, the problem is when your partner does something you don't like, or you do something that your partner doesn't like, it's very easy to make it about the other person. It's very easy to get into it and say, you did this, so I yada, yada, yada. And then, it's a recipe for disaster because the other person feels attacked. Then they need to defend themselves. You both get triggered and it just escalates and blows up like fucking Mount St. Helens in 1980. So instead of making it about the other person, you have to make it about yourself. And your partner has to make it about herself. And there's a really simple communication technique that will help you do that. And it's called an I statement. To create an I statement, all you have to do is ask yourself 3 questions. And that is, what have I observed? How does that make me feel? And what do I need? Here's a quick example. Assume you're working a lot, you're working a ton, and at the end of the day or during your day, your wife, your girlfriend comes up to you and wants a chunk of your time. She wants you to talk to her, to tell you about her day, like right after you get done with work. And that used to annoy the shit out of me because after I've done work, all I want to do is sit down for half an hour, be with myself, drink some water, calm down, listen to some music. I don't want to engage my brain anymore. I don't want to have anyone around me until I'm recharged. So what I used to do in the past was to say, hey, why do you always talk to me? I've told you I need this time for myself. Why do you always do this? And so on and so forth. And obviously then my partner would feel rejected. She would feel like I didn't want her. And the whole thing just went downhill. So instead I use an I statement and I simply say, hey, I've observed that whenever I finish work, you come up to me, you want to talk to me, and I'm not really receptive, and it creates this mismatch and often arguments after which neither of us feels better. When it happens, I feel like my need for space and me time and recharging isn't respected, which makes me feel like I have to defend myself and fight for this space, and that makes me angry and upset. What I want and need for the future is a little time slot after work where I can be just with myself, recharge, and get my own head in order. And after, I would absolutely love to show up for you, listen to you, and you can tell me about your day and we can have a good time together. And that's it. That's all you need to say. Notice how what I said was 100% about me. I didn't say they were wrong for coming up to me. No, I just shared how I felt. And this, of course, it makes you a little vulnerable and you'll have to be in touch with what's going on inside of you. But it will also take away any chance of attack, any chance of an escalating argument, because you're simply sharing how you feel. So the next time you address something, ask yourself these questions and feel free to share them with your partner as well. What have I observed? How do I feel about that? What do I need? The last secret I want to share with you is something really cool and interesting that not a lot of people have heard about. And it's especially useful if your partner tends to bring up stuff from the past or things that are unrelated to what you're talking about right now, which usually makes it way harder and way more complicated than it should be. That thing is frame control. And it's something that requires you to really step into your healthy masculine, but it's so massively rewarding once you're able to do it. Here's a super quick story that will help you understand it. When I started studying in the first semester, I went to this massive party at one of my friends' places. It was a crazy party, a couple hundred people there. We had a stripper, everything. It was wild. But the important thing is they put up a white canvas in their living room and put out pens with it where people could just like sign or draw something or whatever. So as there were hundreds of people, that thing quickly filled up and it escalated. And people were like putting their names in the last little bracket, that in the last little space that they could find anywhere, until someone like kind of slipped with the pen and just drew it on the wall a little bit. So once someone broke the frame, the whole thing escalated and the whole wall got drawn on, and it was a mess by the time the party ended. You can view a discussion with your partner in the same way, because in order for it to be productive, to solve your problems, to move you forward as a couple and to make your relationship better, it has to happen within a certain frame. It has to focus on one particular issue. It has to be in a certain tone. So no blaming, no arguing, no screaming, but rather an exchange between two mature adults. Problem is that people will often test your frame and try to break out of it because they feel like being emotional with you. They feel like bringing up something else that bothers them. Sometimes you will even be tempted to leave that frame. So what you have to do is really be calm and centered in your masculine and control that frame and say, look, it makes sense to stay within this frame. It makes sense to stay with this issue. It makes sense to communicate in a calm and clear way, even though we feel like screaming at each other. And as long as you stay in that frame, the conversation will follow the guidelines and the rules in the frame that you seem to be appropriate for it. Now the question is, of course, how do you stay in that frame? And there's just one simple thing you need to know. The stronger frame will always swallow the weaker one. So if your woman brings up something from the past, that's a test of the frame. She tries to assert her frame, which says, we're not talking about this only, but also about all the other stuff you did. Your frame is, no, we're talking about this because it makes sense to go through it one by one. So when she brings that up, that is exactly what you can tell her in a calm and collected way. Look, I understand that you're upset about this thing from the past, but right now, let's stay with this because this is what this talk is about. And after, we can absolutely address all the other concerns you have. Again, think of the classic masculine-feminine dynamic because that determines how your relationship plays out. You, as the masculine, you hold the space, you create the frame, you set the guidelines, you set the direction, everything. And within these guidelines, within these frames, within that space, the feminine is free to express herself and free to share herself. But it only works if you can hold that frame, no matter how much pressure and wildness and distraction there is from the inside. You have to hold that frame. And as I said, to be able to do that, you really need to be in your healthy masculine. You need to know your triggers. You need to know how the patterns you have manifest, how you can work with them, how you can stay calm, how you can observe and experience your emotions without reacting to them. So while frame control is simply a skill for better communication, it also goes much deeper than that if you want to master it. And trust me, you want to, because it will make just about every conversation you have, not just in your relationship, but also in your business and day-to-day life, much easier. So use these 3 secrets that I just shared with you. Create a safe space, use I statements, and practice frame control. And I guarantee you, if you just follow these 3 principles, your communication will get at least 100% better. I guarantee you. Because it's not just about the method and what you say and what you do, but it's much more about the underlying dynamic and the underlying energy you give off with it. Because if you can step into your healthy masculine in the communication, it creates the proper frame for everything and allows her to step into her healthy feminine. And you'll get much further with that because polarity, healthy polarity, is restored. And that's what really helps a couple thrive together, support each other, and find solutions together, ultimately connecting them, creating more intimacy and less drama. So if you found this video helpful, please hit the like, hit the subscribe, and most important, please consider sharing it with someone who'd also benefit from it as well, because it massively helps the channel grow. And let's face it, if we're honest, we're men, we could all use some help in that department because we're tired of the arguments and the drama that lead to nowhere. In any case, thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Take care.